For 8 long years, the horizon of Mecca remained a distant memory for the believers. They had been driven out under the cover of night, leaving behind their wealth, their homes, and the graves of their ancestors. They were outcasts, labeled as rebels by the powerful Quraysh, but the desert remembers. In the 8th year after the Hijra, the sands began to tremble. A force of 10,000 men, the largest army ever assembled in the Hijaz, was marching. There was no beating of drums, no songs of war, only the rhythmic thud of boots and the whispered prayers of men returning home. This wasn't just a conquest of land, it was the fulfillment of a divine promise. This is the story of the Fath al-Makkah, the Conquest of Mecca. 2 years earlier, a fragile peace had been established between the Muslims of Medina and the leaders of Mecca. This agreement became known as the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The treaty was meant to last 10 years. But in Arabia, old tribal rivalries were never easily forgotten. One night, the tribe of Banu Bakr, allies of Quraysh, launched a surprise attack against their rivals, the Banu Khuza'ah, who were allied with the Muslims. The attack was brutal. Men were killed even within the sacred sanctuary where fighting was forbidden. Some members of Quraysh secretly supplied weapons and horses to the attackers. With this act, the treaty had been broken. One of the leaders of Khuza'ah, Amr ibn Salim, rode across the desert to Medina seeking justice. Standing before Prophet Muhammad, he recited poetry describing the betrayal. The Prophet listened carefully. Then he answered with calm certainty, "You will be helped, O Amr ibn Salim." The treaty was over. The path toward Mecca had begun. The Prophet began preparing a massive expedition. But this time, secrecy was essential. Even many of his closest companions did not know the destination. He prayed that the Quraysh would remain unaware until the army reached their gates. During this preparation, an unexpected incident occurred. A companion named Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a attempted to send a secret letter to Mecca warning them of the approaching army. Hatib feared for his family living in Mecca. But the message was intercepted before it reached the city. Some companions demanded severe punishment, yet the Prophet remembered something important. Hatib had fought in the historic Battle of Badr. Because of this, the Prophet forgave him. Even before the conquest began, mercy had already appeared. Soon, the army began its journey. 10,000 men marched from Medina toward Mecca. The desert horizon was filled with the scale of the community's return. As the army approached the valley outside Mecca, night fell. The Prophet then gave an unusual command. Every soldier was instructed to light a fire. Soon, 10,000 flames illuminated the desert hills. From a distance, the valley looked like a sky filled with stars. Inside Mecca, the Quraysh watched in shock. They had never seen an army of this size. Their leader, Abu Sufyan ibn Harb, rode out to investigate. When he reached the hills, the sight filled him with awe. He soon encountered Al-Abbas, the Prophet's uncle, who guided him to the Muslim camp. There, Abu Sufyan stood face to face with the man he had opposed for nearly 20 years. The Prophet asked him, "Has the time not come for you to recognize that there is no God but Allah?" At that moment, the leader of Quraysh accepted Islam. Mecca's leader had surrendered. At the first light of dawn, groups of silhouettes are gathering their gear and mounting camels. The sky is a soft gray and violet. Massive, controlled movement. Each column approached Mecca from a different direction, but the Prophet gave a clear command: do not fight unless you are attacked. Instead of marching proudly like a conqueror, the Prophet rode his camel with his head bowed in humility. He quietly recited verses from the Quran describing victory. As the army entered the city, something remarkable happened. At the center of Mecca stood the Kaaba. For centuries, it had been surrounded by idols. Nearly 360 statues filled the sanctuary. One by one, the Prophet pointed toward them with his staff while reciting the words of the Quran from Surah Al-Isra. As the verse was recited, the idols were removed and destroyed. The Kaaba was purified. Then the Prophet called for one man, Bilal ibn Rabah. Bilal climbed to the top of the Kaaba. A former slave who had once been tortured in this very city was now standing atop its most sacred site. And for the first time, the call to prayer echoed across the valley of Mecca. The sound reached the hearts of those who had once been enemies. The people of Mecca gathered in fear. For years they had fought against the Muslims. Many expected revenge. The Prophet looked at the crowd. "O people of Quraysh, what do you think I will do with you today?" They answered carefully, "You are a noble brother, the son of a noble brother." Then the Prophet repeated the words of Yusuf, "There is no blame upon you today." Then he declared, "Go, you are all free." The conquest became known for mercy. Soon afterward, the meaning of this victory became clear. People across Arabia began entering Islam in large numbers, as reflected in the words of Surah An-Nasr. Mecca was no longer the enemy. It had become the heart of the Muslim world, but the story was not yet finished. Beyond the mountains, new tribes were gathering. Soon, another battle would unfold in the valley of Hunain. Join us as the journey of faith continues.